I want to stress one more time that these are my own personal views and opinions, and they are entirely subject to discussion and disagreement. I also want to stress the following to any evangelicals that may be listening to this. I am in no way lumping every evangelical Christian into one big boat. I'm talking about specific religious groups and lobbies that happen to be part of an evangelical movement. These people do not speak for you. You speak for you. And I'll try really hard to keep that distinction intact when I discuss these things. There's a common theme in these films, particularly in Jesus Camp, about the role of Christianity in government. A common mantra in the evangelical movement today seems to be things like, "Give America back to God," or "One nation under God," in all caps. Now, I think that Christianity is important as a part of our culture and heritage, but there's an enormous danger in creating the kind of theocratic system that I think these people would like to see. First off, I always find it puzzling when a Christian of any denomination speaks favorably about mixing Christianity with government. I find it particularly bizarre when fundamentalists say things like, "Give America back to God," especially considering that Jesus himself said, "My kingdom is not of this world." I challenge any person of any faith or non-faith to point out to me where the apostles talked about replacing the Roman Senate or Caesar with Christians. I'd like them to point out to me where they endeavored to stack the Roman courts with Christian judges. I'd like them to point out to me where, in any sense, they found it necessary to replace Roman culture with Christian culture. They didn't. It wasn't remotely important to them. Roman culture was Roman culture. Give unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's. It didn't matter. What mattered was how they conducted themselves and applied their faith to their lives. Secondly, it's often said that the United States is based on Judeo-Christian principles, and that's true. But, and this is so often overlooked, I can't believe that more people don't talk about this, within that Judeo-Christian foundation, it was also based on the principles of the Protestant Reformation. Those people, the founders of our country, had just escaped one nation under God, in the sense that these evangelicals are talking about. After the Lutheran sect split from the Roman Church, they were declared a heresy, and the Church made their lives miserable. Upon coming to America, these Lutherans had finally found a place where they were free to worship as they chose, without interference from Rome or any other body. And this was in the forefront of the founders' minds when they drafted the separation clause. Separation of church and state does not mean separation of God and state. We are an extremely religious country, and will likely continue to be so for a long time. What the separation does is keep the government from turning into an American pontiff. I don't know if that's lost on these people, or if they think that their evangelical pontificate would somehow be better, but in either case, I think they really need to think seriously about what they're trying to do and the historical parallels that it draws. Now, the flip side of that is this notion on the part of some modern atheists that we ought to tax churches. Wrong. If the church pays taxes to the state, the church becomes part of the state. These are the same people who have a problem with the faith-based initiatives of the Bush administration because the state ends up funding the churches, yet they don't seem to have a problem with the churches funding the state. Yeah, I don't get it. Anyway, moving on. It's often said, not just by evangelicals, though they bring this up more often than others, that when we took prayer out of school, the schools went down the tubes. And there go the young people right down with it. Well, not only is this not true, but the root cause of the degradation they're talking about is simpler, more destructive, and far more deserving of their attention. The reason that our culture is in a state of disarray has nothing to do with secularism or religion or atheism or conservatism or liberalism. We're in the shape we're in because we have, as a society, defined the satisfaction of our desires at any given moment as a moral good, and moreover, the highest moral good. This is apparent in all of our advertising. To possess these products and to have these things is to satisfy your desire for them or the services they render. And that is the good that we're all told every day of our lives to strive for, especially young people. Defining the satisfaction of our desires in this way has a lot to do with the financial crisis we're in. It has a lot to do with some of the social problems we face, and it has a lot to do with our international problems. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that we're in this mess because some of you buy a Coke when you feel like it. I'm talking about a common psychology that we all share, are all subject to, and that's impressed upon us by very wealthy and very powerful people. Neither religion, nor atheism, nor conservatism, nor liberalism will fix the problem. Those things have always been with us, while this problem is relatively new. What it will take is a restructuring of how we identify ourselves as people and as a nation. As it is now, people tend to identify themselves as consumers, and the sooner that identity changes back to something with substance, and the sooner we focus on the real good rather than the apparent good, the sooner we'll start to come out of this turmoil. Thank you for watching this series, and thank you for listening to what I have to say. I'll be doing more reviews as time goes on, and maybe, just maybe, I'll talk about this kind of stuff again sometime. Take care.